just asked me what is change, Max. I think we should have a
But
conversation
I
on
also said, did you just say pining for change? And you
planning
did
for
not.
change.
You said planning for change. What is
Planning for
change?
change.
Well, I mean, you put this one on. So
I did.
why did you put it on?
I, well, yeah, I think that it's important for business owners and people to recognize that change is inevitable, change happens. And I think
Yes.
it's good to have some, it doesn't have to be a written plan, but some idea about what could happen. I have a friend who talks about this. She gives out condoms as protection and she does insurance and it's about protecting your business in case something happens. I quite like
Right.
the metaphor of a condom. So she blows up a condom in her talks and but it's a laugh, but it does get you thinking about it. And I often wonder how far people think ahead into the future within their business
Okay.
scope.
Sorry. What is the future? No, well, but okay.
And well,
I am,
actually, sorry, to put this into
yeah,
another way, I've restructured my business and done that in a way that I have planned for that change to happen because
right,
it needed to happen. AI has
right.
fucked a lot of stuff up for me. So it's like how do I adapt to something that I can't control
Hmm.
and what steps have I taken? So I think that's kind of where I was trying to get to with this topic today.
Well, no, and I think that's really fair because I also think that because I am not, uh, I haven't really been doing this a lot. And and it also buggered me up a lot in the past. You know that in like the end of 2020, which was
Oh, what happened then?
I lost like 95% of my income in my business.
For a small business
And then I
owner,
got a new gig with a new client, and then that was in the event management industry. And well, we all know what 2020 was like. Anyway,
yeah.
but I
And we couldn't plan for change, by the way, in that environment. We just did not know.
no, and the thing is, a friend of mine, also a business owner, she because there was a lot of people, especially non-business owners, who were like, "Yeah, but that's just the risk of doing business." And she said to me, "No, the risk of doing business is say that you are a tomato farmer
Mm.
and people eat a lot of tomatoes, so you make a lot of money. And then one day cucumbers start becoming more popular than tomatoes, and now your business is shrinking." She says that is the risk of business. What isn't the risk of business is you are a tomato farmer and you're doing well, and one day, without any notification, government decides that tomatoes are now illegal. That is not the risk of business.
Yeah.
And I thought that's a very clear way of putting that. And you cannot prepare for. There
No.
is no way. But there and I could have prepared for losing so much of my income by not having pretty much all of my income relying on one client.
Mhm.
Because as soon as I lost that one client, I was scunnered, really.
Yeah.
Is that a word that people know?
That's a good one.
Inside.
Yes, Gunnar, it's great.
Okay,
You're
cool, cool, cool.
sunk. You were in crisis.
And then 2020 happened. So that was good. But I think where I'm now, I am rebuilding parts of my business because
Mhm.
you and I, we both went through this process the last year where we really had to go back to basics and go like, what is it that we want to be doing, and what also what is it that we don't want to be doing anymore.
Yeah.
um and so now I'm trying to build that business in a way that allows me to consider my capacity
Mm.
for, and not just time that I have to put into my business, but also how much money can I put into my business? How much, how much bandwidth do I have emotionally to put into my business? Like there's all these different aspects to it, right? And this is again, like I know that we talk about Tony all the time. I'm very glad that he was featured on Flat Whites recently, um, because now people know that we didn't make him up.
Tony exists. I should have him on a little stick so I can hold him up every so often and go, Tony.
Like, I really like this idea. Okay. We
I'm
will make that
like
happen.
my idea
But this
last
is
week about having
exactly
the
but this is exactly also what he works with people on, right? Like is acknowledge where where the boundaries of your capacity are and build a business that will honor those. And like even within my work, when I work with people on marketing or messaging, or I have in the past, I always say, come up with a plan that you can execute even in your worst week.
Mhm.
Because if you're planning for your optimal week or your optimal life circumstances or your like anything where you're planning for the best possible circumstances, you're gonna get in trouble at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's true. I mean, I think with change, change can be quite broad. So for me, it was when businesses thought that AI would automatically make something in their business better.
Mm.
And they went, we have AI, why isn't our business growing? And it's like, well, you don't have a strategy. You can't tell me what your plan is in order for AI to then enhance that plan. You just
Mm.
expect AI to be, now you've got it, that it would magically make new things happen. And so there was a lot of, and I I wanted to validate this as well online and through other people that had the same experiences, which I have. So it's not an isolated thing. It's something that I can't control has inevitably changed the way that I can work with other business owners. And it's like it's not necessarily that they have done something wrong, but I have to work out what I need to change in order to then be better at what I'm doing or more efficient or what can I do to make my business grow that then doesn't uh, that isn't detrimental because someone else has made a decision on something that I can not control. And
Yeah.
so I I recognized that I needed time. Time was the thing that I needed more than anything was to work out what I really loved and then how to articulate that to people. And I I involved quite a few people in my conversations about what wasn't working and what I needed to change, and then piloted and tested that
I
and
mean,
worked out what needed to how do I connect with people with that. But it was I actively took the time to do it.
well, and I think this is the beauty of your workflow process, right? Because I think what you're talking about is that what we need to do as business owners, like one of my the expressions that I bandy about a lot is when you're inside the jar, you cannot read the label,
Mm.
right? Like when you're in the middle of it, you don't know what's going on. And as a business owner, that is a risky place to be.
Mm.
And you can't every day go outside the jar and read the label, but you need to do it with some regularity. And one of the things that the process does, your workflow process does, because you've put me through my paces on the book launch specifically,
Mm.
is you are outside the jar and you're asking the questions so that you can paint a picture of the label,
Yeah,
right? Like, and so you create that sort of that ability for people to see, oh, this is what's going on, and this is because a lot of times what we experience as this is the problem isn't actually what the problem is.
true.
And when you talk to people, this is your genius. Like honestly, it's magical to watch Louisa do this. um, you map it out, you map out a business in such a way that you say, here, see where you're, this is the symptom that you're experiencing, but actually it's related to this other thing. This is where you need to stop the bleed, right? And so I think, and especially when you are at a point where you are making a big decision in your business about how to move forward or what system to implement, or do we invest in this or do we invest in that, do we need AI or do we not need AI,
Mhm.
and if we need it, how do we need it, where do we need it, where can it actually add value, then having someone who can help you get that sort of outside perspective, who can help you read the label, take you out of the jar for a second, help you read the label. That is how you plan for change. This is how you make your business sturdier, is by involve and I really think sometimes we need to involve other people into what we're doing in order to see, is what I am thinking actually happening here?
Yeah. And I think people get into a state of panic to change.
Mm,
And it happens a lot. It's you're you're up against some sort of deadline or, financial something or other, and you have to make decisions quickly and you're trying to find another path or but often and thank you very much, checks in the mail, Max. But it was like I think taking a step back and knowing what the business picture looks like is something that people just don't do enough. And it should be done every couple of years because it's important to go back and go, well, I had all these ideas and some of them we tried and they didn't work, but the foundations of the business are still there. And it's like you're asking for ideas about where you go next. Does this feel right? Does it fit? It's still something that we would support you on, but I think it's also you have this path that you want to take next. And I think people kind of end up in this, it's almost like a stagnant space. It's like someone screwed the jar, the lid on the jar,
mm.
and you just don't have anything fresh or interesting and new coming out because you're just stuck in this bottle. Um, I think if you can plan for when you want to change as well, then like knowing I've sort of planned because I've done a lot of singing in the last month, so I've had a couple of conventions.
Did
I've
you?
seen, yeah. So I knew that my capacity around that was not going to be great. I was in Australia because I knew that I was going to have another 3 weeks where I wasn't going to be available. So, I had mapped out my sort of my plan based on my availability, and it's like I'm not going to be chasing new clients when I'm in Australia. It's just a fact of time zones
Of
are very
time
different.
zones.
and and I know that my mum has physical symptoms that are very distracting. So having calls with people and having someone clapping is not going to make me look good. I mean, it's a
No,
fact.
and
It's
sometimes these
on.
things come up. Like obviously you planned your trip to Australia because flights. But sometimes also these things kind of come up a little bit more unexpectedly,
Yeah.
and we just have to quickly make some adjustments. Stick on an out of office and just hope for the best.
Mm.
Um, but that's why I always say, like, try and plan for when life throws you a curveball. That week you can still do what you need to do, at least to to keep it ticking over, right? Like maybe we're not doing innovation and we're not putting new people in our pipeline and da 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 da, but at least we're still seen to talk about our business. We're still meeting the deadlines that we need to meet, and or we at least have communicated to the clients that we are not going to be able to meet those deadlines because I don't know, we are in hospital or we whatever it is, right? Because life also happens, and I also think um, sometimes the plan is sometimes the planning for change means if something happens, then I know that these are the steps I need to take. And having that on paper, right? Like knowing, oh, that means I have to inform my clients, I have to schedule out my social media, I have to put an out of office on. Like even if that is a checklist that you can go through to say, like, okay, if for any reason I need to step away from my business for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, because life happens, then these are the steps I take to make sure that there are no disastrous consequences to that need. That is also planning for change. It doesn't always have to be, oh, what do I do if, suddenly tomatoes become illegal? It can just be, what happens if I break my leg?